Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Thank you very much for joining me. Our patient is a AK-42A. That makes it an Outback, if I remember correctly. Actually, the customer, I remember seeing the ticket for this, and I remember sending a link to the eBay listing, right? Because the question was, how do I pay? So I said, either I send you a payment link, or you can purchase on eBay. Same price, so whatever works for you, right? And the customer did buy via eBay, but then I couldn't find the ticket. That's weird. Not that I need it for anything, but I do remember because I didn't send the address, right? That's how I know that it's definitely the ticket, because I was thinking maybe I just forgot, maybe I got it confused with someone else. But no, that definitely, if I didn't send you the address and you knew the address, then you must have received it via the ticket, right? What's the problem with it? Misfires, of course. IC 608, our signature repair. It's our signature repair because not only that's the first repair I did in my shop, but also I devised a technique and procedure to actually fix this. Not that it's very complex, not that it required a lot of research or anything, but yeah. blackhorserepairs was the first one to be doing this. There's very few jobs lately around this chip, most likely for a few reasons. It's simple, as you can see. I mean, it can be tricky, but if you have all the right tools and abilities, then you can do it pretty easily. Also, other shops can do it. If you don't have to send it to me, you can give it to the local shop and just send them the video, right? So that's probably why I don't see a lot of these lately. But that's how this business works. There's maybe you do a certain device, certain repair for a year or two, and then that device is no longer being used, or it becomes obsolete. Especially that's true for phones. It used to be popular to on iPhone 6, was it 6S or whatever, there was this one version of 6 that had a touchscreen issues, and that was a result of manufacturer error, basically. And what you had to do is just solder on the wire to one of the pins of a IC responsible for the touch, right? So some people specialized in that particular repair and did a lot of it. Right, you could order it on eBay. A lot of local shops also offered that, and rarely anyone uses iPhone 6 anymore. In my view, that was the last good iPhone, in which you could replace the battery and and screen and what have you. Well, maybe not the home button. I think that the home button couldn't be replaced. But other than that, everything could. And the phone would work without a home button. I mean, until some update or something like that. That's life. Anyways, we live in very interesting times for many reasons. Many reasons. And I get sometimes I get feedback from you guys, maybe not you guys, but some guys, okay, that don't talk about politics, don't bring politics into this, and some companies also have this kind of like unwritten rule that we don't talk about politics at work, and I know I broke that rule and one company that was kind of against it. Now, the company I work for now, there's no problem. And actually, it's a very diverse environment in many ways. You know, I work with Republicans, Independents, Democrats, people more into politics, less into politics, LGBTQ members, multiple. So there's a pretty diverse bunch at work, and yeah, we talk about politics, and you know, we agree on some things, we disagree on other things, but it's always a civil conversation. And my point is that, you know, if you approach the subject as, you know, we don't talk about politics, right? No politics at the dinner table, no politics at work, that kind of stuff. You know, then come November, you have to go to the polls and you have to make a decision who you're gonna vote for, and you're at a loss because, you know, unless you're actually into politics, right, and you follow the politics, right, at least you watch the news every day, and preferably news from two sources, the right-wing propaganda channels and the left-wing propaganda channels, right? There seems to be very little in between. I prefer independent media from both sides. Right? I don't consider myself loyal to any side. Right? It's not that I declare either loyalty to one party or the other. Because my views are kind of in the middle, right? And nothing really radical. You know, well, maybe in a way radical, because I do believe that the education and healthcare should be free in every country, as long as you pay taxes, as long as you're employed, you should have free healthcare. If you don't, then that's how it is in Poland. As long as you work, you get free healthcare. But for free healthcare, you have to wait. There are big, long lines, right? And you always have an option of going private and just pay for your visit privately, not through the government, right? So it's not like, you know, you might think that it's very communist approach to, you know, to healthcare. It should be privatized and stuff, but you know, you have that option. You can use only private healthcare if you can afford it, and it's actually not very expensive. I mean, if you live in Poland and, you know, and have minimum wage job, then yeah, that it might be a little pricey. But you know, if you have a decent job, or say you live in the U.S. and you just go to Poland for you know, medical procedures. I don't remember. When I was immigrating to United States, you have to go through the medical exam, right? Get your blood test and urine test and X-ray your lungs to confirm you don't have TB. And you have to take vaccines before you arrive, that kind of stuff, right? So, you know, we don't want immigrants to bring diseases into the United States. Very reasonable. I didn't have a problem with that, but the X-ray of my lungs, you know, was not good, right? They suspected. What was it called? Oh my God, pulmonary fibrosis, right? It's terminal, right? So obviously they considered that pretty serious. So they recommended that I go to pulmonologist, and pulmonologist sent me to get the CT scan. And obviously, you know, if you want CT scan and you don't want to pay for it, right, you want the government to pay for it, and I was working then. Then you have to wait, right? And the wait time could be months, right? Even if you're, in such situation where the time matters, it still can take weeks to months. And so obviously I did it privately, and I don't remember exactly how much I paid, but somewhere in the region of maybe $15-20 USD. So, it's not horribly expensive. In the United States, if you want to get a CT scan, that's probably a couple grand, if not more. I don't know. I haven't had much experience with US healthcare. Thank God I've been relatively healthy over here. But my point is that my views are kind of in the middle of the road, right? I don't feel strongly one way or the other. As long as we all get along, as long as we all have a job, we all have education, we all have healthcare, we have good roads, the government takes care of us. It's fine, right? But the major point is that we should talk about politics, and especially in these times now, because quite unusual things are happening now, and especially since I'm an immigrant, right? So immigration things kind of interest me, all right, because it's kind of in my interest to be informed. I'm a permanent resident. I'm not a citizen, at least not yet. So my green card could be revoked if, I don't know why would it be, but well, I guess if I broke the law or anything like that, then maybe that would be the reason. But how do you know it's not? How do you know that's your problem and not your skin color, right? It's a very dangerous game that they're starting to play now, because all those immigrants that were deported against the judge's decision, which is highly inadvisable. We don't know if they're actually terrorists or whatever the ICE said they were, and I don't think it should work that way. Because that's what we have courts for. So they keep saying criminals, that the criminals were deported, but it's not the law enforcement that catches criminals or deports criminals or whatever, right? They identify suspects, then suspects get, as per Constitution, their fair trial. And then the judge decides whether they are criminals or not, right? That's how it's supposed to work. And it looks like in this administration, it doesn't quite work that way. So that is concerning, because, this is nothing new. Everybody keeps saying that it's like so unprecedented times, and we've never seen anything like that before. Well, maybe we haven't seen anything like that before. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened in the history. We're just not old enough. That's why we should talk about politics. We should talk about history, right? At the dinner table with your family, you should discuss those things, and keeping emotions out of it, because we're at the end of the day, we're all on the same side, right? And the most terrifying thing to me is that peaceful protesters are being prosecuted, arrested, and called domestic terrorists. That is very dangerous. That's a very dangerous game, because it's okay. Your voices were heard, right, during the election. All right, you voted, but what if you voted and the person you voted for, not unlike, what's his name, Anthony de Volder, George Santos, whatever, that it turns out that, you know, it was a sham. He lied about everything, and, you know, he's not a person that we voted for. You know, there should be a way where you can express your disappointment, your disapproval, and the way it is done in the United States is through peaceful protest. All right. Obviously, you know, putting cars on fire or shooting at Tesla, you know, dealerships and stuff. No, that's unacceptable, of course. But peaceful protesters being arrested, that's not acceptable either. You can't call a terrorist someone who's just protesting, expressing their disapproval. Because that, if you lose that right, then you might not get another chance to vote. What if the president makes himself a president for life? Perhaps we haven't seen this much in United States, but we see it in other countries. So we know how it works. And I don't think we want it in the United States, do we? That's why it's important to talk about those things. To not only share your opinion, express your approval or disapproval, but also hear the other side. Because with those immigrants, deported immigrants, you know, some of them are people who were not born in this country, but they immigrated as kids. They speak English natively, so the English is their first language. Maybe they speak their, let's consider this situation where, and there are examples of this. You don't speak your native, your original language where you came from, right? You grew up in the United States. You consider yourself American. You're a permanent resident or what have you. And then suddenly you are deported to the country you've never been to. You don't speak the language. You don't have friends there. You don't have family there. And suddenly you are a man without the country. That is, just consider something like this. Imagine, put yourself in the shoes of such a person. That is terrifying. I'm not in that situation because, you know, I do speak Polish. I was raised in Poland, so, you know, I'll be fine. I still have family over there. I still have friends over there, right? So, you know, it wouldn't be end of the world for me. But, you know, on the other hand, my wife doesn't speak Polish. My son doesn't speak Polish. Because someone said that, well, if your spouse is getting deported, you can go with him, right? Or with her. It's the choice that you're making. And a few other things that she shared that she got terminated for. It's an absolute lack of compassion. And that's not good, guys. That is not good. Have a little bit of compassion to your fellow human. Because we already, it's sad situation, especially since, you know, Actually, you can find some fun in it, you know, meaning Musk not understanding why people are hating on him. I don't know if he actually doesn't understand or he's pretending not to understand. That's for him to know. But it is a bizarre picture. That, well, people don't. Why don't people like me? I'm trying to make the government more efficient. I'm actually not too sure he knows what that means to make government more efficient, because imagine you have 10 computers, right? And each one of those computers is calculating inverse square root, right? Simple equation for humans and the calculator, but very expensive operation for the computers to actually perform. So you have 10 computers, so we can do it quickly, right? And then Musk comes in and says, no, now we're gonna, for the sake of efficiency, we're gonna use 2 computers. Let's fire 8 computers. So how is that efficient? It's cheaper, maybe, because you don't pay for electricity and you don't have to pay for the maintenance of those 8 computers and all that kind of stuff. But it is not more efficient. And obviously, this operation could be improved. Efficiency could be improved. And that was actually from Quake 3, was it? Or was it in Quake 2? No, I think it was in Quake 3. The hardware wasn't powerful enough to calculate the angles. And that's what you need inverse square root for. So he devised an algorithm. Well, he wasn't really an author of that. He admitted that he also found that somewhere. But he was the first one to popularize this algorithm. And it's basically an approximation. So instead of working on floating point numbers, you work on integers, which is vastly more efficient. And you get your answer, not as precise, but good enough for visuals, right? So say that operation takes 100 milliseconds. With this improvement, it takes 2 milliseconds, right? You could call it 98% improvement, or you could call it a few hundred, depending how you look at the problem, and depending whether you're the person who reports that improvement or not. Because obviously to your bosses you want to, report it as a 600% improvement. And you can reverse the math to actually make that happen, to actually make that true. But that is improvement of efficiency. So to improve the efficiency of the government, I would imagine that you would introduce better hardware. Maybe you identify that, hey, you're using some old protocol which is slow, and the refunds, the IRS refunds take a month, maybe few weeks at least, right? And Musk comes in, introduces his software or hardware or what have you, and you get your sorry, and you get your refund after 20 minutes after you submit the your papers and everything, right? That is the improvement in efficiency, but not firing a bunch of people and calling that an improvement to efficiency. So I'm not sure he actually understands that what he's doing is not efficiency improvements, because he keeps repeating that, well, I'm here just trying to make the government more efficient, and for some reason people hate me. That is so unfair. That poor billionaire. Why are you hating on Musk? So yeah, that's as far as the efficiency is, or efficiency goes, as in Elon's head. I don't know how that makes sense, but who am I? I am nobody. What do I know? Not much. That's why I talk to people. That's why I read. That's why I listen to independent media. Because, yeah, I don't know. I have to get myself educated to make an educated or to make an informed decision should I have to make it. That's a good thing, guys. That is a good thing. So if anyone tells you that no politics here or no politics there, then stay away from those places. And you know what kills me? A 27-year-old press secretary, White House press secretary. It's just ridiculous to me. Absolutely ridiculous. And as you would expect, the lady just brazenly says that tariffs are a tax on foreign countries. Come on. And when she gets a pushback from a reporter, she gets offended. Like, how dare you test my knowledge of economics? What knowledge of economics? You're 27. What do you know? I don't care if you studied economics, that's fine. But, that means nothing to me, that you studied economics. Yeah, I've worked with people who studied economics. They didn't know the basics of, they had basics of economics. They could calculate percentages and stuff, but not much beyond that. So no, the school alone doesn't really give you the credentials to even talk to people about economics. And you can see that the lady is contradicting the president, or president is contradicting her. So that's a poor communication. And the way she talks. But it's nothing against her. She's 27, right? 10 years ago, she was 17, a decade ago, right? So when Obama was in the office, she was a child. So what do you expect, right? Don't hold it against her. She should never have been put in this position. But that's our reality now. Well, I hope this administration is treating you well. If you're not an immigrant, there is a chance. But if you are a farmer or you live in a red state, like I do, there are certain consequences of the decisions of this administration. And I'm talking mainly about the tariffs that the foreign countries are putting on us, not to mention the boycott of American products and travel to US. That's we all gonna feel that. If you work for a travel agency, if you work for the travel agency, then you send people abroad, right? So maybe that's not a big issue for you. But if you work in the accommodation industry, and suddenly if your traffic of people traveling to your resort or whatever drops by 70%, suddenly a lot of people are going to be out of the job. If you, because all those retaliatory tariffs by Europe and Canada are targeting red states. In addition, yeah, that's crazy decision about the Department of Education. You know why that was done. That was done because if you decide to not provide education to, say, transgender or person of color or a person of certain ethnicity, that is protected by the Constitution of the United States. That's not allowed, right? So the state cannot just say, no, we're not going to provide education because you're transgender. They would be in trouble. Well, not anymore. Now they can. Now they have a perfect right to just decide that these people are gonna get education and those people are not. That person is not welcome in our school. And I know you can make an argument that this should be that way because reasons, right? And I understand that you do need a freedom to, well, how do we put it? To just kind of decide what kind of culture you have in your state, in a sense, right? And due to Constitution and federal law, you are not able to do so. So the argument could be made that this is a good decision. I don't buy it. I don't buy that argument. Meaning, this argument doesn't really speak to me. I think the downside of it is a lot worse than the upside. Because it's not like, there's also the laws of, the other laws that give you this ability to, to remove a person from your society, from your community, right? But not based on race or, sexual orientation or what have you. This can be very easily abused. And as I said, this isn't anything new, because that has been used in the past, and even during my lifetime, after 2001. What was it called? Some kind of act. Anyways, the idea was to, we don't want terrorists in our country, right? If you're a terrorist, you are arrested. You don't get a trial. You are just sent to Guantanamo Bay, and what happens to you there, we don't know. We've heard some reports of torture, and it's probably not a pleasant place to be, right? That was not too long ago. But now, imagine that the government has the power to just declare anyone they want a terrorist, and all your constitutional rights are gone. Same during Second World War. That was around Nazi and communists, and actually during Cold War, right? The same thing. If you are labeled a communist, that's it, right? You're gone. You don't have any rights. So whenever such a ability by the government is held, it can be misused. And I don't mean just intentionally. There could be genuine mistakes, right? That's why I'm against capital punishment, or not for capital punishment, because what if we made a mistake? There's plenty of cases where people are released from prison after 12 years because it turns out they were innocent, right? If you execute them, then there's no way to correct that mistake. For the same reason, I'm not for this approach where the government has a tool that allows the government to strip you from your constitutional rights. So one thing is a misuse, but the other, just honest mistake. It happens. We all make mistakes. Especially the Doge department. I'm sorry, the doggy department. And those people that were deported, I hear they're deported to, like they were imprisoned in Venezuela. Was it Venezuela? It doesn't matter, but that's a horrible thing to do. That's so mean, you know? And people who worked here maybe for, their entire life, people who don't speak the language of the country that you're deporting them to, they've been paying their taxes and stuff. And that is just cruel. There's no other word to describe it. And if you think that you're immune to this, because no one's immune to this. At any point, your citizenship could be revoked because your parents were not citizens, right? Even if you were born here, but your parents were not born here, your citizenship might be stripped from you. And my wife would be in such a position. She was born and raised in U.S. and if she had to be deported to Philippines, she doesn't speak the language. She does have family over there, but she's been there like a couple times. So that it's not like she can start a new, just move over there and just be a productive member of society. And it's not like you can learn the language easily, later in life. If you're young, then yeah, sure. Or perhaps you have a talent to learning languages. Some people do. So that's horrible. That is horrible. I think there's not enough outrage from the society at the moment, but that is understandable if people are getting arrested for protesting. That's a horrible thing to do. Basically arrest people that don't agree with you. That's a regime, guys. And I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes, how regimes work. Sure, I was a kid. Sure, I don't remember much from it. But that was always the discussion at the dinner table where I grew up. Talking about politics, talking about history, different opinions, and discussion. You have your arguments, I have my arguments. Let's exchange those arguments and let's see if we can come to a consensus. Or maybe we can't, but at least, that's our duty as voters. Our duty is to be informed and to discuss those things. We sit down and we discuss, and then we vote. And we don't ridicule one another, we don't fight one another, we just discuss. And we have different opinions, we have different approaches, and then we make an informed decision. So yeah, that's why from time to time I talk about politics. And by politics I don't mean just this president or that president or parliament or whatever. Politics as policies. It doesn't have to be government. Alrighty, misfires will be gone. And too bad we don't do many of these anymore, because it's good money. It's good money because it's not that much work, and you know, there's not much work because there's no diagnosing, there's no measurements, there's, you know, no reverse engineering, nothing like that. You just, you know, replace the chip and send it back. You know, and sure, sometimes things go wrong, sometimes it's harder, but so. Well, what are you gonna do? Now we're gonna do some socket replacements. I gotta recover from my last failure. Alrighty, fellas, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate you. If you agree with me, show some support. If you disagree with me, let's have a discussion in the comments, or you can join my Discord and we can talk there. And I shall see you guys in the next one.